Hi everyone, meteorologist Matt Gray. Oh, wrong frame there. There we go. Meteorologist Matt Gray. The forward is now First Alert Weather Center. Time for another edition of the Brainstorm, and we certainly have some things to talk about as far as local weather and taking a deeper dive because we have got some of the coldest air of the season and potentially could give us some of the coldest temperatures we have seen in a while, at least in some parts of our area, specifically around Spokane, where it has been a couple years now since we've actually gotten below zero. Now, we certainly got close earlier this year, but no dice, and we do perhaps have a shot if everything breaks in the cold direction with the next couple of weather systems. So as we go through this upcoming week, we're going to go from basically average temperatures, both highs and lows. Your lows are on your screen here, all the way to being about 10 degrees, 10 to 12 to 15 degrees below what we would normally be, which would be kind of in the low to mid 20s. Instead, we're going to be in the low teens and upper single digits above zero in the Spokane and Coeur d'Alene metro by the time we get into the weekend. Now, there is potential that we could even get chillier than that over the weekend and into, say, Monday, Tuesday of next week. We actually have three separate kind of cold waves that are going to be coming down, each one following the backside of either a strong or a weak storm system. Certainly, we had quite a storm come through for the start of the weekend. When you get to the backsides of these storms, usually that's a lot of northerly winds, and that helps push down some of that chilly air, and that's exactly what we're going to see as we head through the next couple of days. And so for Tuesday and Wednesday, you're going to notice that drop of temperatures down into the teens, and that's going to be our new baseline for when the next round of cold air comes along. That is going to be coming as we head into Thursday and Friday. Now, how much of this actually gets across the mountains from the northern plains, through the mountains of Montana, and here to the inland northwest, there is still some question about that. There's also another cold wave coming in behind this. It looks like it is packing much more of a punch. Look at all that frigid air that comes down over the weekend and across the northern plains. Now, if this is just a little bit further to the west, all of a sudden, we are talking about some big-time cold coming across the mountains. And so that's what I want to talk about. Let's look at some of the computer models, and let's kind of give ourselves some expectations here, and I'll show you what I'm looking at and what we are all going to be looking at in the weather team. The whole weather team as we head through the next few days to see what's going to be going on in about a week from now as far as those temperatures go. So thanks to the website here, tropicaltidbits.com. That's where we're using our models today. So I've talked a little bit before when we're looking at weather models, we want to look at the ensembles. So that means we're taking the weather models, we're running them a bunch of times, we're tweaking what's happening slightly, and that accounts for any errors that the computer starts off with. So it gives us kind of the best average of everything, and that minimizes those computer errors, or maybe there was a bad temperature sensor that got plugged in. All those different errors that can happen, it minimizes those as much as possible, and so it should give us a pretty good idea of what's going to happen. So we're going to start with the Global Ensemble Forecast System, the GEFS, that is developed here in the United States. Some people may call it the American model, but look, everything does the same things, just different people working on it. I don't really think the whole nationalist deal with that is too big of a deal because everybody looks at these. Everybody looks at these, no matter what. So here we go. That's that first wave. This is the second. So you go through Tuesday there. Now this is where things get a little bit more interesting. So this is over the weekend. See, this is, let me make sure I get in the right spot. So here we go. So this is Thursday night into Friday. You can see that colder air on the American ensemble, moving more so into the Midwest and kind of bypassing us here. As we go towards the weekend, that cooler wave also kind of bypasses us as well. So this is kind of the warmest that we're looking at. It's still going to be pretty darn cold, but a lot of that Arctic air is staying away from us, at least here in the American ensemble. If we go over to the European ensemble, things are a little bit different. So here we go. There's that first cold that we're going to see for the beginning of the week. This is Thursday. So the next one should be on the way here fairly shortly. You notice the one Thursday into Friday doesn't really show up here in the European ensemble. And then look what happens. See what I meant about a little bit of a wiggle to the west could make a big difference? Well, that's exactly what the European ensemble is doing, right at the very edge of its range. Notice that this cooler air, frigid Arctic air, is actually spilling across the mountains up in BC. And boy, that's a lot easier path to get down into eastern Washington and North Idaho than being all the way over here in eastern Montana and getting some very weak backside winds on these systems to try and wiggle its way all the way through the Rockies here. If it could do it up there, that's a much easier path for us to see some pretty frigid conditions. So I would say this is the cold version. We're going to look at one more. This is the Canadian ensemble. Yeah, Canada works on weather models too. Well, let's take a look here. Look at this. So this is towards the weekend. This is late Saturday night or late Saturday afternoon. Look at that. So I would say this probably splits the difference. So, you know, your American ensemble pushed all the cold out towards Minnesota. This is basically taking it right down the spine of the Rocky Mountains on the eastern side. And that will get some of that Arctic air that spills over to us. You can see some of that as well up in BC, that easier path towards us in the inland northwest. And you can kind of see this very extended range as this goes all the way out, all the way up past to Christmas. But you can kind of see how those pink colors, as this comes in, really start to kind of eat into the blue colors that are around the warmer places in our region, like the LC Valley. So this kind of splits the difference between what is a meh to a oh my. Maybe we have to keep an eye on some things here, and I think we do regardless. One of the reasons why is there's so much snow on the ground. We're not going to get a lot of help in the afternoons when the sun does come out later in the week. That we're not going to heat up that much. So each night, especially because we're expecting our nights to start to clear up a little bit, not as foggy as we had later into the week. Every night it's going to get a little bit colder and a little bit colder. So it's also smaller regional processes, in addition to some of that cooler air that we're going to be watching. Let's take a look at, this is one of my my most favorite forecasting tools. So this is called the National Blend of Models. So it takes all the models that are done here in the United States, blends them together, and gives us a really good idea of what we should expect and what the range is of things we should expect. So this is the range of high temperatures. This line here on the screen is the chance that your high temperature will be at 20 degrees or colder. And boy, look what happens here as we head into Friday. We basically go from 20-30% chance. That's not very likely when you look at these. That almost never happens. But look what happens as we get into Friday, into the weekend and beyond. All of a sudden, those odds go from 50% on Friday to 70, 80% as we go through the weekend, and then start to come down at least a little bit. These are also kind of this is the most likely range of temperatures in this red box, and it gets less accurate as it goes out, but once again, it gives you a good idea. Basically, the most likely warmest high temperature is 19 degrees, but it could be as chilly as 2, and the most likely there is somewhere right around, say, 10 degrees or so for, what is this? This is next Monday, so 8 days from now. But this gives you a pretty good idea of that it is going to be quite chilly. Let's look at the minimum temperatures. I'm going to move this slider down, and so this is what I really want to see. So let's go -1. Okay, so this line now shows these are the odds for sub-zero temperatures in Spokane, and it's not zero as we head into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and beyond. This is a long-term pattern where it's going to be still, it is going to be cold, and all of that snow is not going anywhere. Unless it melted already, it ain't going nowhere. And you can see kind of the ranges of temperatures here. I don't think we're going to hit the bottoms of these. You can see for Tuesday night, bottom end range, most likely range is about 8 degrees. Don't think that's going to happen, just because we're not going to be seeing a lot of clear skies early in the week. Now, late in the week, totally different story, and that's one of the reasons why these temperatures drop. You can see anywhere between 12 and 4 as we go into Friday, and it just keeps on going down. Now, when you see have clearing skies, calm weather, usually when you're forecasting, you lean towards the lower end of these ranges because especially when the sky's clear, even for a little bit, it can get super cold super quick, especially with a lot of snow on the ground where you basically get no help from heating during the day. So that's the situation here. We are looking at pretty good chances of pretty chilly weather, and if we do get into the sub-zero range, might be the coldest of the year around Spokane and around Coeur d'Alene. I believe we hit zero or 1 degree once earlier on in this February, and so I'll end here tonight with this 7-day forecast. So this is what we're thinking right now. Definitely leaning towards colder overnight temperatures as we head into that less cloudy, more closer Arctic air as we head into Friday and beyond. Certainly, depending on kind of how things are looking over the next few days, those numbers could trend up a little bit. Those numbers could definitely trend down a little bit. Either way, it's going to be cold. But when you are this far out, there's still lots of wiggle room. There's a lot of error that you got to play with when you're making these forecasts. But certainly lots of strong signals that it's going to be pretty darn cold as we enter the weekend before Christmas. So, if you liked kind of this nerdy little dive into the forecast process, do this every week here on the 4 News Now YouTube channel. You can also subscribe to the Brainstorm newsletter by visiting our weather page on KXOY.com. I hope you have a wonderful week. Looks like we all got to stay warm out there, and we'll catch you next week for another edition of the Brainstorm on video. Have a good one.